My name is Diana Martinez. I'm 34 years old. 10 weeks ago, I sat in my parents' living room during their annual Thanksgiving gathering. 52 people filled their house in suburban Chicago. Extended family, family friends, neighbors, people from my father's law firm. My father stood up to make his traditional toast. "We're grateful for so much this year. My son Michael just made partner at Morrison & Foerster, youngest partner in the firm's history. We're so proud of what he's accomplished with his law degree." 52 people applauded. Michael stood up and took a modest bow. Then someone asked, "And Diana? What's she up to these days?" My mother laughed, that dismissive laugh I'd heard my entire life. "Oh, Diana is still babysitting. She teaches 5th grade at some public school in the city. We keep hoping she'll go back to school for a real career, but she seems content playing with children all day. At least someone has to do it, I suppose." 52 witnesses heard my mother reduce my career to babysitting. But what they didn't know was that 3 weeks earlier, I'd received a phone call from the White House. I'd been selected as one of only 108 teachers nationwide to receive the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching, the highest honor a STEM teacher can receive in America. And what my parents really didn't know was that in 6 weeks, I'd be at the White House ceremony with the president, while a video would play for 300 attendees, showing exactly what my babysitting had accomplished. 12 former students now in STEM PhD programs, 7 published research papers co-authored with my students, and a math program I'd designed that increased standardized test scores by 47% in underserved schools across Chicago. Before I tell you what happened when my parents saw that video and realized what they'd dismissed, please like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this story. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from and what time is it? I'd love to hear from you. Now let me take you back to where this really began. Growing up in the Chicago suburbs, I learned early that my younger brother Michael was the golden child, and I was the disappointment. My family consisted of my father, a senior partner at a prestigious law firm, my mother, who'd been a corporate lawyer before becoming a full-time mother, her words, my younger brother Michael, who was brilliant and destined for legal greatness, and me, the daughter who loved math instead of law. Michael brought home mock trial victories. I brought home math Olympiad medals. When I was 14, I won the Illinois State Math Competition. First place out of 840 students. The prize was $5,000 and an invitation to represent Illinois at the national competition in Washington, D.C. I showed my parents the acceptance letter, already dreaming about competing nationally. My father barely looked up from his legal brief. "That's nice, Diana, but math competitions won't get you into a good law school. You should focus on debate team." That same week, Michael won a regional mock trial competition. His team placed second out of 8 schools. My parents threw a celebration dinner, invited 40 people, spent 3 hours discussing Michael's natural talent for argumentation and his future at Harvard Law. I told myself it was fine. Law was more prestigious than math. At 18, I got accepted to MIT with a full scholarship to study mathematics. I wanted to become a teacher, to help kids fall in love with math the way I had, to make a subject that scared so many people feel accessible and beautiful. My parents came to my high school graduation but left during the awards ceremony. Michael had a tennis match they wanted to watch. They gave me a card with $100 inside. For college supplies. 2 years earlier, when Michael graduated high school with a 3.7 GPA and got into Northwestern, they'd thrown him a graduation party that cost $15,000. A catered dinner, live band, 80 guests. They gave him a $35,000 car. I told myself it was different. Michael was going into law. That required more support. At MIT, I thrived. Double majored in mathematics and education. Graduated summa cum laude. Won the Alice T. Schaefer Prize for Excellence in Mathematics by an undergraduate woman. I called my parents from Cambridge. "I won the Schaefer Prize. It's one of the most prestigious undergraduate math awards in the country." My mother's response, "That's wonderful, dear. Listen, can you call back later? Michael just got his LSAT scores and we're celebrating. He scored in the 99th percentile. They hung up before I could respond. Michael went to Harvard Law School. My parents paid his full tuition, $210,000 over 3 years. Bought him a condo in Cambridge. Gave him a monthly allowance of $3,000 for living expenses. Meanwhile, I moved back to Chicago to teach. Started at Douglas Elementary, a Title I school on the South Side where 94% of students qualified for free lunch, and math proficiency rates were at 23%. I was 22 years old, making $38,000 a year, living in a studio apartment in Hyde Park, and I'd never been happier. I told my parents about my job. I'm teaching 5th grade math at Douglas Elementary. I'm so excited to make a difference. My father's response: "You went to MIT to become an elementary school teacher? Diana, that's a waste of your education. You could go to law school, make real money, have a real career." Teaching is a real career. It's babysitting with a college degree. You're wasting your potential. But I wasn't wasting anything. I was changing lives. My first year, I taught 32 fifth graders. Most of them were behind grade level. Many had been told they were bad at math. Some believed they were stupid. I stayed late every day, created hands-on lessons, made math tangible, using cooking to teach fractions, sports statistics for percentages, architecture for geometry. I showed them that math wasn't about memorizing formulas. It was about understanding patterns, solving problems, seeing the world differently. By the end of the year, my students' test scores had increased by an average of 34%. 7 kids who'd been below grade level tested into advanced math for 6th grade. One student, Marcus, had been in special education for math. Everyone said he couldn't do grade-level work. I refused to accept that. I worked with him every day after school. By June, Marcus was doing 6th grade math. By 8th grade, he was in algebra. Now he's a junior at Northwestern studying engineering. But my parents didn't care about Marcus or any of my students. Every family gathering was the same. Michael just won a major case. Michael was promoted. Michael bought a house in Lincoln Park. And me? Diana is still teaching. Still babysitting, really. We keep hoping she'll wise up and go to law school. Over the next 12 years, I built something extraordinary at Douglas Elementary. I developed a math curriculum specifically designed for underserved communities. Hands-on, culturally relevant, focused on building confidence alongside competency. Other teachers started asking to observe my classroom. I trained them, shared my materials, helped them implement similar approaches. Within 5 years, Douglas Elementary's math proficiency rates went from 23% to 78%. We became a model school. Educators from across the country visited to see what we were doing. I published research papers on my teaching methods in education journals, co-authored papers with my students presenting their mathematical research at student conferences. I started an after-school math club that grew from 12 students to 80. We competed in math competitions. Douglas kids, from a school where people expected nothing, started winning awards. I sponsored 7 students for the Siemens competition in math, science, and technology. 2 became semi-finalists. One student's research on algorithm optimization was so impressive, she got a full scholarship to Stanford. My former students started coming back to visit. 12 were now in STEM PhD programs: MIT, Stanford, Caltech, Carnegie Mellon. 7 had co-authored published research papers with me while they were still in middle or high school. I was making $67,000 a year after 12 years of teaching. Not rich, but my life was rich. Every day I watched kids have breakthrough moments. Every year, students who'd been told they were bad at math discovered they were brilliant. Meanwhile, Michael made partner at Morrison & Foerster at 33. Youngest partner in the firm's history. He was making $850,000 a year. My parents were ecstatic. Threw him a celebration party that cost $25,000. 150 guests at the Peninsula Hotel. They asked me to come. "You should see what real success looks like, Diana. Maybe it'll motivate you to do something with your life." I went. listened to speeches about Michael's brilliance, watched my parents glow with pride. No one asked about my work. No one asked about my students. I was the sister who teaches 5th grade, said with a pitying smile. Then, 2 months ago, I got an email from the National Science Foundation. Ms. Martinez, you've been nominated for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. This is the nation's highest honor for STEM teachers. We'd like to invite you to submit your portfolio for review. I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. But I called the number. It was real. I spent 3 weeks on my portfolio, documented 12 years of work, student achievement data, curriculum development, research publications, letters from former students, videos of my teaching. I submitted it and tried not to hope too much. 3 weeks later, another call. Ms. Martinez, congratulations. You've been selected as one of 108 Presidential Award recipients. You'll receive the award at a White House ceremony in January. You'll also receive a $10,000 grant and recognition from the President. I sat down, shaking. The Presidential Award. Fewer than 110 teachers receive it annually out of 3.2 million public school teachers in America. I'd won the highest honor my profession could bestow. I called my best friend Sarah, who taught science at Douglas. She screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. I told my principal, Dr. Washington, who cried and immediately started planning a school celebration. I told my students, who erupted in cheers. Marcus, now at Northwestern, drove down to congratulate me in person. But I didn't tell my parents. Not yet, because 2 days later, I received the email about the White House ceremony. The details, the schedule, the fact that recipients could bring 10 guests, and the most important detail, there would be a video presentation showcasing each recipient's work, 3 minutes highlighting our achievements, our impact, our students. The NSF wanted photos, videos, student testimonials, data. They were producing a professional video for each of us. I sent them everything. 12 years of photos and data, video clips of my students solving complex problems, explaining their thinking, celebrating their breakthroughs. Testimonials from former students now in PhD programs. Before and after test score data showing 47% improvement in math proficiency across schools using my curriculum. The video producer called me after reviewing the materials. Diana, this is incredible. You haven't just taught math, you've transformed an entire community's relationship with mathematics. This video is going to be powerful. I made a decision. I'd invite my parents to the White House ceremony. Let them see the video. Let them see what they'd dismissed as babysitting. But first came Thanksgiving. 52 people at my parents' house, the traditional gathering, my father's annual toast celebrating Michael's achievements, and my mother's dismissive comment about my babysitting. I didn't correct her, didn't defend myself, just smiled and let her think what she'd always thought. After dinner, my Aunt Caroline, my mother's sister, a physics professor at Northwestern, pulled me aside. Diana, I'm so sorry about your mother's comment. What you do is incredibly important. Thank you, Aunt Caroline. I heard something through the Northwestern grapevine. Something about a presidential award? Is that true? I nodded. Her eyes widened. The Presidential Award for Teaching? Diana, that's extraordinary. Have you told your parents? Not yet. Why not? They're invited to the ceremony. They'll find out then. She smiled slowly. Oh, this is going to be interesting. The next day, I sent my parents a formal email. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm receiving an award in Washington, D.C. on January 12th. The ceremony is at the White House. I have guest tickets available if you'd like to attend. Sincerely, Diana. My mother called within an hour. The White House? What kind of award? A teaching award. Oh, well, that's nice. Yes, we'll come. Your father has contacts in Washington. It'll be good networking. Of course. Not pride in my achievement. Networking opportunities. The ceremony is black tie, I added. Very formal. About 300 attendees, awardees and their guests, plus government officials, education leaders, some celebrities who advocate for STEM education. Celebrities? Who? I'm not sure yet, but the NSF mentioned some surprise guests. I could practically hear her calculating the social capital. We'll definitely be there. Can we bring Michael? This sounds like an important event. I have 10 guest tickets. I'm bringing students, former students, and colleagues from Douglas. You, Dad, and Michael can have 3 tickets. You're bringing your students? To the White House? Diana, this is a sophisticated event. You should bring professional contacts, not children. These children are the reason I'm receiving the award. She didn't understand. She never had. January 12th arrived. The White House ceremony was in the East Room. Chandeliers, historic portraits, 300 guests in formal attire. I brought Marcus, now a junior at Northwestern Engineering. Jasmine, now at Stanford studying computer science. 3 current students who'd won the Chicago Math Challenge. Dr. Washington, my principal, Sarah, my fellow teacher, Aunt Caroline, and my parents. And Michael. My mother kept trying to network. Do you know who that is? That's a senator. Diana, introduce us. Mom, I don't know him. I'm here as an award recipient, not a socialite. You should be making connections. That's what events like this are for. The ceremony began. The director of the National Science Foundation gave opening remarks. These 108 teachers represent the best of American education. They've transformed their students' lives, advanced STEM education, and embodied excellence in teaching. Then the president entered. My mother gasped. The President of the United States, here to honor teachers. The president spoke about the importance of STEM education, the teachers who inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers. These teachers don't just teach subjects, they teach students to think, to question, to solve problems. They change lives. Then came the award presentations. Each teacher was called up individually. A brief video played showing their work. Then they received their award from the president. My name was called. Diana Martinez, 5th grade mathematics, Douglas Elementary School, Chicago, Illinois. I walked to the front. My 3-minute video began playing on the massive screens. It opened with footage of my classroom. Kids engaged, excited, working together on complex problems. One clip showed a student shouting, "I get it! I finally get it!" and jumping up to celebrate. The narrator. Diana Martinez teaches at Douglas Elementary, a Title I school where 94% of students qualify for free lunch. When she started 12 years ago, math proficiency was 23%. Today, it's 78%. Cut to Marcus, in his Northwestern Engineering hoodie. Ms. Martinez refused to accept that I couldn't do math. Everyone else had given up on me. She stayed after school every day to work with me. Now I'm studying engineering at Northwestern. She changed my life. Cut to Jasmine at Stanford. I didn't know girls could be good at math. Ms. Martinez showed me that math wasn't about being smart or dumb. It was about understanding patterns. She taught me to see myself as a mathematician. Now I'm at Stanford studying computer science. Data appeared on screen. Before and after graphs showing the transformation at Douglas. Expansion maps showing my curriculum being used in 43 schools across Chicago. The narrator. Diana has published 7 peer-reviewed papers on mathematics education. She's trained over 200 teachers. She's helped 12 students reach STEM PhD programs. And she's co-authored research papers with middle school students published in academic journals. Images of my students presenting at conferences. 5th graders explaining algorithm optimization. 7th graders presenting statistical analysis. Diana Martinez hasn't just taught mathematics, she's created mathematicians. In one of Chicago's most underserved communities, she's proven that every child can excel at math when taught with skill, passion, and unwavering belief in their potential. The video ended with me in my classroom. Math is beautiful, and you're all mathematicians. Never let anyone tell you differently. The room erupted in applause. 300 people standing. The president smiling. I glanced at my parents. My mother's face was white. My father looked stunned. Michael stared at the screen in silence. The president shook my hand. Ms. Martinez, your work is extraordinary. These students are lucky to have you. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm lucky to have them. At the reception, Marcus was networking with NASA officials. Jasmine was talking to an MIT professor about her research. The NSF director approached me. Ms. Martinez, would you join our advisory board on STEM education? Also, MIT, Northwestern, and Stanford all want you to lead their mathematics education programs. I glanced at my students still riding the high of meeting the president. I love my classroom, but I'd consider part-time consulting, training teachers while still teaching students. My parents overheard. My mother approached, looking shaken. Diana, I had no idea that teaching was a real career? I told you every Thanksgiving for 12 years. I told you about my students' achievements, my curriculum being adopted by other schools, my publications. You never listened because teaching was babysitting to you. My father tried to defend her. We thought you were wasting your MIT education. I used my MIT education to transform math education in underserved communities. 7 peer-reviewed papers, 200 teachers trained, 12 students in PhD programs. How is that wasting my education? Aunt Caroline turned around. She did tell you. Every single year. You just never listened because you were too busy praising Michael for winning lawsuits. Michael looked uncomfortable. Diana, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were transforming education policy. That's because you never asked. We celebrated back at the hotel with pizza and laughter. Marcus had accidentally called the president Mr. Smith because he was nervous. My parents called my room at 11 p.m. Diana, can we talk tomorrow? No. You've had 12 years to talk to me about my work. You chose to call it babysitting instead. We made a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to value Michael's career over my teaching. You chose to dismiss my students. You don't get to undo 12 years of dismissal because you finally saw evidence you couldn't ignore. I hung up. The next morning we flew back to Chicago. The local news was waiting. Chicago teacher receives presidential award. My principal scheduled an assembly. 600 students gathered to celebrate. Kids cheered. Teachers cried. The superintendent came. Ms. Martinez, we'd like to make you district-wide math curriculum coordinator. Half-time teaching, half-time training teachers across Chicago. Pay increase to $95,000 annually. That week, my inbox exploded. Speaking offers, consulting opportunities, a book deal, universities wanting me to design teacher training programs, and emails from my parents. Dozens of them. We're so proud of you. Too late for pride. We never understood the impact you were making. That's because you never tried to understand. 3 weeks after the ceremony, my parents showed up at Douglas Elementary unannounced, sitting small and uncomfortable in elementary school chairs. We came to apologize, properly, to see your classroom, to understand what you do. What I do is teach, what I've always done, what you've called babysitting for 12 years. My father stood. We were completely wrong. We prioritized prestige over impact. We valued Michael's salary over your influence. I didn't do any of this for recognition. I did it for my students, the kids you never asked about, the kids whose names you never learned. My mother was crying. Can we start over? Can we meet your students? I looked at them for a long moment. No. Diana, please, you had 12 years. 12 Thanksgivings where I tried to tell you about my students. You didn't value my work until the president handed me an award. That's not respect. That's social climbing. We made a terrible mistake. You made a choice, and I'm making one now. I'm choosing to spend my time with people who valued my work before it was prestigious. I walked back to my classroom. That was 10 weeks ago. My parents keep trying. I haven't responded. I accepted the coordinator position, signed the book deal, still consulting with the NSF, and I'm still teaching, 4 days a week at Douglas, still watching kids have breakthrough moments. Marcus stopped by last week. Ms. Martinez, I'm applying to MIT, Stanford, Caltech. Because of you. Because of you, Marcus. You did the work. You believed I could when no one else did. That's teaching. Believing in potential others can't see. It's not babysitting. It's changing lives, for that moment. Every time, with every kid. Because that's not babysitting. That's everything.